Hello everyone, it's the _0 myth here, back with another tier list video for Legend of Ace. You might know me better as BL8. I'm sorry, the noob. Anyhow, I restructured my tiers again. This time it's going to be from S++ to D tier. I'll go over what they mean now. S++ is going to be blatantly overpowered. S tier is going to be almost overpowered. You can pick them into any game. They're super strong. They've got enough in their kit that they dominate just about everybody below them. Or they're very easy to use, and they've got like similar results to what you can get from people below them. After that, it's going to be A tier. A tier is going to be, you can also pick them into any game that you want. They're good. You know, they're good. I would just say that they're solid characters. You can pick them into any game. There's never a problem with you picking them. You just need to like know how to use them properly. They aren't usually that hard to perform with though. After that, it's going to be B tier. These are going to be the people that you need practice on them to perform well with them. They can perform as well as the people above them. It's just that they might have drawbacks in some way, or you just need a lot of time to like know how their mechanics work and how to like properly play them against the people above them. After that is going to be my C tier. These are going to be the characters that are niche. They're usually good at that niche, but other than that, I wouldn't say that you would want them over other people. After that is going to be my D tier. They're just bad. And then of course my unsure of placement or new tier. Now that I've gone over my my tiers, I'd like to shift over to talking about the meta. The meta has not changed drastically this time around. There wasn't like any big impacts to like kill XP or like jungle XP or anything like that. So the meta is still late game team fight oriented. You want to claim objectives as early and as frequently as possible type stuff. You want people that can carry late game basically. So in this patch we actually got a new character called how do you pronounce her name? Penthesilea. So Penthesilea is new. I'll go over her when I get to her, of course. But because she's similar to another character that I already know of and like know where to place, I'm going to actually already have a tier list preemptively lined up. The chances are that I might be doing another like redefined tier list. This will be the initial one. I'm pretty confident-ish where I'm putting characters though, in the new patch. But yeah, I'm gonna hold that out. I already have a like tier planned for Penthesilea though. After Penthesilea, the new item that was introduced was multi-shot. Multi-shot is very, or rather, multiple shot, I believe it's called, or something like that. It's a marksman card, and it allows, it basically allows them to cleave. One character in particular is going to use this better than any other character, and that's going to like skyrocket them when it comes to the tier list. But it's in general just a good card to have in the game. A lot of marksmen benefit from it. It gets rid of that thing where marksmen were very, very single target focused, except for Medusa. It allows them to cleave the way that a melee carry would, and that's what's bringing the marksman like back into the meta over the melee carries, is because the melee carries used to have cleave and they were tanky. Now all they have is the tankiness portion of it, and it now becomes, do you want a marksman that has range, or do you want a melee carry that has tankiness? It just depends on what you're looking for. And I think marksmen, you know, they're in a lot better spot because of the card. One other thing that I do need to mention for sure, though, is that the devs need to be a lot more aggressive when it comes to nerfing or buffing heroes. The only character that, like, the only problematic character that, like, really needed nerfs, only one of the characters from that group actually got touched, which was Lin. And the only thing that got touched was a specific card that, like, reduced his jump range, which was, of course, core at a high level. But even so, like, it's the kit itself that needs a look. Like, you need something that'll, like, help balance that out, or, like, they need to be bad in certain ways for that, like, level of, like, good in their kit to balance out, you know? Like, they just aren't, I wouldn't say trying, I would just say that it's probably tough to, like, balance this in a proper way. But if somebody's, like, blatantly overpowered, you need to do something about them. The same thing if somebody's blatantly underpowered. Like, Shipton was blatantly underpowered. She rose up a couple tiers this time with the rework, in my opinion. It, like, emphasized her role a little bit. I would still say that it's clunky-ish, but it's a lot better than it used to be, for sure. And they need to do that with a lot more characters, you know? The very worst need to be buffed or reworked, and the very best need to be nerfed. And they've been doing a relatively good job, but it needs to happen, like, more aggressively. Finally, if I could just say, that 2,800 hero token cap per week thing, that needs to be removed. It only ever happens after you've played 300 games. And that isn't always, like, for everyone, especially for casual players. But for the hardcore people to, like, suddenly get hit with a 2,800 hero token cap and, like, reduced rates of growth when it comes to, like, getting your heroes, that just kind of sucks. It just feels absolutely like there's not any other game that comes to mind that has only 2,800 hero token caps per week. Like, I don't know, like, that's just pitiful. Anyhow, now that I've gotten over the meta, the cards, and a couple of the things that I thought that I needed to talk about, I can move on to the tier list itself. Sorry about all that, like, upfront type stuff. So, starting off my tier list, and starting off as number one best character in the game, I'm being a little bit more realistic this time and putting Deny up there. Deny is a CC-oriented mage, but yet has massive amounts of range, massive amounts of damage, and just a lot of AoE while she's doing it. Basically, it allows her to clean up team fights by herself, and, you know, she can clean up team fights by herself, start them, end them, whatever you want. Her only weakness is that she's immobile, but when you have, like, the potential to resurrect twice, that's not really much of an issue. Anyhow, I think the best way to, like, nerf her would be to, like, start with either the level of CC she can bring, or to, like, nerf her damage and, like, probably remove a couple of cards that just, like, need to be either on other characters and not Deny, or something like that. Like, she's got too much. She's got way too much. The same thing goes for Lin, who is going to be my number 2 pick. You can build him either as a tank or as a carry. But what he does is he groups everybody dead center in, like, this little dot. When he ults, it's instantaneous, and there's nothing you can do about it. Cleanse isn't going to help you unless you're getting CC'd after he's done his ult. I don't know, like, he's just got a super strong kit. The fact that his little jump thing was nerfed isn't really gonna matter if he's, like, coming out of a bush. It just means that he's got to be a little bit more careful for, like, the range at which he starts charging, you know? That's it. That's the only part of him that got impacted. It's not enough. He either needs, like, I don't know what you would do to change him. Maybe removing the jump entirely, but I don't know. That might actually work. Maybe. I don't know. He's just too good right now. I might try to come up with a set of like potential changes that you could do to like improve them or like make them more healthy for the game, but I don't want to do it in the tier list right now. Right now it's just who's good, who's bad, why are they there. That's all I'm supposed to be doing right now. So after Lynn, who just groups everybody up for deny to CC, I'm actually going to be putting Brynhild. Brynhild is going into blatantly overpowered, that tier. Apparently she actually got buffs this patch. She did not need them. There are plenty of other characters that deserve like buffs or reworks or anything like that. This character did not need them. She is going to be above Deborah this patch, just mostly because of the buffs, but also just because she's an easier to use version of Deborah, in my opinion. She's basically got 3 seconds of hard CC on anybody dead center of her 3-hit chain. That's all there is to it. 3 seconds of hard CC against an ability melee carry is really hard to fight. You're basically left helpless, and then if she starts smacking you when she's done, there's not a whole lot you can do at all. Yeah, it's just blatantly broken. After Brynhild, it's going to be this person is going to be finishing up my blatantly broken, at least. It's going to be Odysseus. Odysseus is the single most benefited character from the multi-shot card. Multi-shot procs his passive. He was always very safe. The only reason that he wasn't as good as Medusa was because Medusa had more CC and like more teamfight utility. He still does not have the CC, but his team fight is there now. Like, he has the team fight, and it's better than Medusa's. Yeah, he's just super safe. He's got really high kiting potential. You can use his ultimate to do, to finish people off, to dodge ultimates. You can do a lot of cool stuff with his ultimate. His Shadow Burst allows him to kite people, to chase people down. You build him with combo training. You build him with slaughter and multi-shot, and you call it good. You just build a lot of attack speed after that. It's really not hard to like play him super well, and once you've had that build, you can't really go wrong. You just have to like power through that early game. That's the only part of the game that you can like really abuse in Odysseus, is that early game, and even then it's hard. After Odysseus, starting off my S tier is going to be Teslin. Much like my previous tier list, he used to be the best ability melee carry, and he still does the same stuff that he used to do, for sure. You still pop everything and go in all at once. The only thing that I would really say changed is that it's probably better on him to build him as either a carry or a hybrid, like carry base but with some tank, because building him full tank, he just doesn't offer as much as other full tanks. If you try and do that, like, it's still powerful, sure, but you're just not getting the most out of him. So it's just build him either as like a carry or a hybrid, and you're good. The cards that you want are Lord Electric, Mantra, and the Lightning Flash, whichever one that gives him the unlimited dashes as long as you have mana. After that, it's going to be Beamon. Beamon is going to be my number 6 spot. People have been continually undervaluing him. You shouldn't. He is a full tank with very, very high burst damage. He brings like mage level damage with the ability to be a frontline tank. Like, you can eat ults, no problem. You just have to get a couple of stacks on Engorge first. Like, that's all there is to it. In addition to that, he's got like hard CC, he's got like a movement speed bonus. He's super tanky, really high burst damage that does like max percentage HP damage. Some of it is real damage, and it's crazy. In addition to that, he's just really good to like bring to that early game like team fight around the Emerald Dragon, because he's able to bite it. Like, he's got 2 separate smites. It's really hard to fight that if he bites it and then smites like, you bite, smite, and it's hard to like contest that level of objective confirm. And then his team is just better than yours for a solid however long, and then he'll go ahead and do it again, and it just extends that lead. And he's just even more tanky, he deals even more damage. Yeah, like, don't sleep on him. You have to respect Beamon. After Beamon, it's going to be Deborah. There she is. Deborah is also going into S. She brings the same stuff as Brynhild does. However, her CC chain doesn't last as long, in my opinion. Or rather, I wouldn't say that. I would just say that it's a little bit harder to apply. You have to use more skill than a Brynhild does in order to get the most out of a Deborah. It takes a little bit more like practice, a little bit more of a brain to do it. Brynhild also has a better teamfight ultimate, but other than that, you want to just build them damagey. Build them to where their abilities hurt and their autos hurt when they're done with their abilities. You know, they're both very strong characters. After Deborah, it's going to be Hestia. You pick Hestia for the early game pressure. She can be thrown into mid, or she can be thrown into a carry support. You can do her either way. But basically what she does is she one combos squishies. Once she gets her ultimate reset thing, she becomes a threat in team fights. She's just a threat in general because of the range at which she can hit you. You know, same type of stuff. I think she might just need damage nerfs. If her passive is still bugged to where it doesn't go 10 seconds and it's still the 5, unless they're changing it to where, hey, she gets a reset every 5 seconds. I don't really think that's healthy for this character, to be honest. I'd rather it be 10 seconds. That would be a solid nerf. But yeah, Hestia, one comboer of squishies. That's what she does. After Hestia, it's going to be Morgan. If you want Beamon in order to like set your whole team up, Morgan instead goes out and kills the enemy team. She is one of the best gankers in the game. She's got very high map presence. She's very safe while she's doing it. All of her dashes either throw her back into flight, or they throw her back right where she like started her stuff. Her ultimate is excellent as engage or finishing people off or just CCing people. She's just very strong overall. Second best jungler in my opinion. After that, it's going to be Medusa, who is going to be second best marksman. If I can find her. There we go. Medusa is going into S. She wasn't changed at all. I mean, multi-shot brought marksman up to her level a bit. This, however, does not change how good Medusa is. She isn't as good as Odysseus anymore, though. However, she does have a lot higher, like, early game pressure, And she just does the same stuff she always used to do. She just CCs everybody, and she just has innately more damage in her kit than most other carries can handle. That's why you pick Medusa. She's stable. You get her for free just by doing the like logging in and all that. So you've just got a top tier marksman in the palm of your hand. You can use her to climb. You can use her to do whatever. After Medusa, it's going to be Oakley. Where is Oakley? There she is. Oakley is one of the few characters that wasn't hit as hard by the nerfs to Deathmark, or Death Fight, I think it's called, Death Fight. Whichever one was the basic card that increased crit damage. She was able to use that, yes. However, because she's got specific cards that help her crit damage and crit chance, she wasn't as affected. In addition to that, I think that I've been underestimating how much damage she could deal. Her range is still impressive. Her ultimate is still a very strong trading tool, a very strong team fighting tool. I don't know. She's just a very good marksman. She's got more mobility than many of the other marksmen. A lot of the other ones are a little bit, more situational mobility, like Odysseus or Loki. But I wouldn't really call Loki a marksman, no, not really. Anyhow, Oakley is just really good. She's able to build crit. She takes a little bit longer to get online, but if you're used to playing Odysseus after this patch, you can probably play Oakley. Odysseus goes for max health, Oakley goes for crit. They deal similar levels of damage. They're both very, very dangerous late game. After Oakley, I'm going to be starting A tier. That's going to start with Heracles. Oh, wait. So, I think that... Here's what I'm going to say about Heracles. I still think that a fed Heracles late game is unbeatable. Unless you CC chain him with, like, Deny and Lin. You do that, he's still just like any other character that gets CC'd by Deny and Lin. But other than that, I think that Heracles has a very low skill floor. Like, you can pick up Heracles very easily. His kit in and of itself is easy to understand. But if you want to use the very maximum level, like that max level that you can perform with Heracles at, is very, very high. I'm only putting him into A because of how hard it is to get to that level of using Heracles. He still does what he usually does. You put him in the jungle, you have him take objectives, and you set up kills for him in ganks, and he'll just basically scale until you don't have to help him anymore. He helps you by just killing everything. I tried the max HP cards on him a little bit. It's not as good as running him with crit. Even with Death Fight dropped a little bit, it's still not going to impact with how much of his passive and stuff helps and how much it synergizes with crit and all that. So Heracles is still good. I still think that if you get him to late game, he will still carry the game for you. He's just a little bit harder to use than I need to be more mindful of that, I think, a little bit. It's hard to perform well with him, and he can be kited, especially by Odysseus. Odysseus kind of hard counters what a Heracles can do, which is why he dropped a couple of tiers. After Heracles, it's going to be Ogier. There he is. Ogier is going into A. After Lin, I'd say a more balanced version of what a tank is supposed to be is Ogier. Ogier is basically just an immobile assassin, or he stops assassins and he doesn't have any sorts of mobility, is what I meant to say. So basically he has a shield to protect his carry. He's got an ultimate that heals his carry and probably stuns assassins. Let's see, what else does he have? He's got, oh, they reworked his passive this time around to where instead of percentage XP gain like Knowledgeable would do, it gives a flat percent increase. I don't know the math behind whether it's better or worse than it used to be. What I will say is that Ogier is, if you go even with an Ogier on your team, you are gaining a lead. Just because of his passive every, like, what? Every 5 seconds, every 10 seconds, something like that, you get free XP. That will add up over time. You know, and he's really good at protecting people. So I'm going to be putting him as one of the best of A tier. After that, it's going to be Arthur. I would say... So previously, I said that Heracles was miles better than Arthur because of how tanky he was, and also because of like how out of meta marksmen were at the time, besides probably Medusa. Medusa was the only one that was really able to like compete with what melee carries could bring to the table in the last couple of patches. But now that Heracles and Arthur are more similar because they're like melee carries, and marksmen have that ability to be a little bit safer. I don't know. He's still not as good as Heracles, in my opinion. However, he is a ton easier to use. Yeah, like, he's just a lot easier to use. He's more squishy, but he's easier to use. It kind of balances itself out that way. You can do better on a Heracles technically, but if you want to do, like, you know, like, that's just how it works in my opinion. Arthur's just a little bit easier to use. Use him, you know, if you want Heracles that isn't as tough to, like, perform super well with. After Arthur... oh, the one thing about Arthur that is, like, similar to Heracles, so Heracles has to, like is forced to, like, earn kills and stuff, and that, like, puts a lot of pressure on your skill as a player to, like, claim objectives and to claim, like, those lives when you get ganks and stuff. But Arthur just gets his, like, free power just passively, just by gaining levels. So there's less stress on you to perform well, or to perform really well. And it just makes it a little easier, you know, just in general easier. Sorry, probably shouldn't be saying that so much. After Arthur, it's going to be Olsen. Olsen is going into A. The same thing that I said last patch applies. You build him with Deathhorn, you build him with crit, you split push. They're forced to send 2 people or more to deal with you, because if you only send 1, they're dead. However, when it comes to team fights, I was underestimating how hard Olsen could be kited. Because when you see when you see an Olsen, like, jump at an entire team, and he can be CC chain just like anybody else. Just because he lasts longer doesn't mean anything. And the other thing is that, what is it? I think that's about it. It's just that because he doesn't have very high levels of mobility in the way that many other melee carries do, even though that he has a chance to, like, kill people after death, which makes him a massive threat. Like, you can't underestimate that because he's untargetable in Deathhorn. You can't CC him, you can't do anything to him when he's dead. But outside of that, he's just really susceptible to being kited. It's still solid. You can still split push like no tomorrow, and they're forced to deal with you. You can use that in any game you go into. It just isn't S tier, in my opinion. After Olsen, it's going to be Mokazuki. Mokazuki is going into A, same reasons as last time. She's just very safe. Her abilities reset, and her autos still hurt when she attacks you. She's very mobile. And like I said, her abilities hurt a lot, and they reset. So, if you get a kill, you're getting a lot of them in a team fight. Stuff like that. Yeah, like, She's just safe, I think. Like, the combination of her safety with her high levels of burst damage is what makes her so good. After Mokazuki, it's going to be on Darvi. I think last patch, I said that Andarvi had a chance to be a lot better than I was placing him. I have decided that that is true. Andarvi is a bit better of a full tank than I realized, and also there's this guy that's been running around as Andarvi with like an assassin build on him, and you don't see that every day. You wouldn't expect it to work either, but it did. I don't know, like, I was just surprised. He can be surprisingly tanky. You have to play around his ult a little bit. That's kind of a part of being an Andarvi player, but like once you do that, he has a huge amount of potential to like completely ruin people and to just take a lot of damage while he's doing it and just shrug it off. After Andarvi, it's going to be Loki. I put Loki up a little bit higher. So I think I've been thinking that Loki, like, his skill ceiling was a lot higher than I originally thought. Or I thought that his skill ceiling was really high when it was not. It's just that his skill floor is super hard to get to. When you're first trying out Loki, it's not going to be a fun time. But once you get like 50 or so games, you understand what he brings to the table, you know? He's very good at picking people off. Like, if you really want Loki to like duel somebody, or just to like pick at the front line, or like get into the back line and get out, as a marksman, pick Loki. The thing is that he doesn't have super high wave clear, and that's kind of important because of how tanky minions are. And when it comes late game, they're going to be really tanky, and as Loki, you really don't have wave clear. Multi-shot should technically help, but his scaling on his AAs isn't super great, so it doesn't really... I don't know. Like, Loki's more of a single-target mage. A very mobile single-target mage with pretty damaging autos. And a lot of like dash resets and stuff like that. So build him with Grand Entrance, build him with Joker Poker, go to town. He's good. It's just that very single target nature has kind of like pushed him. I don't know. I can't value him much higher than other marksmen. They aren't as safe as Loki when Loki is doing his thing, and he can kill people easily. It's just his capability outside of that specific thing isn't as high as other marksmen. It's still there, don't get me wrong, but other than his safety and like his burst damage, you'd probably want to pick another marksman over him, or like another mage or something like that. I don't know. But he is better than I originally thought, you know, because I was, spending too long on Loki. After Loki, it's going to be Bradamante. Bradamante is going into A. I previously had her in S. The only reason I'm dropping her to A is because of how clunky I realized she was. All of the like weird delays and like, I mean, you're able to minimize them to some extent. Like, the more you play her, the more that you understand the way that those things work. Like, if you try and dash through somebody in auto attack, you have to like use your little movement indicator stick to like point it in the right direction, because if you just tap it, you're just going to be hitting air type stuff. There's stuff like that that you can pick up on, but it doesn't change the fact that she's clunky. Her potential to still like build that like double lunge, you build it with abilities that can crit, you build her with the extended ultimate duration, and you just basically double dash onto people and then you pop ult and they die, with no counterplay. So there's always that. That's always going to be a solid thing. and she still does like very high levels of just like melee carry damage, but like as she's using abilities, the auto attack canceling of those is super clunky, so it makes her kind of feel bad to play. She's still very, very strong though. Like, don't get me wrong, Bradamante is strong. If you want to play her, if you want to get wins, you can do that with Bradamante. After that, it's going to be Flora. Flora is going to be going into A. Flora is basically just that marksman that has very, very high early game pressure. Late game, she falls off a bit. When the other marksmen have lifesteal, it isn't like super beneficial for Flora to build lifesteal. You're better off building like this specific to her character cards that like help buff her abilities or like extend her range or whatever, and make her a little bit tankier, stuff like that. So it kind of makes her like this weird pseudo tank, but it still does not change the fact that in the end game, like late game, she is very unsafe to play. She could be anywhere from A to C tier, in my opinion. I'm just going to put her into A because of how high that early game pressure is and how good it is for you to claim that first dragon, you know? Because that's what it comes down to. In this late game team fight meta, it's either you're very good late game or you're very good at like claiming the first dragon. Those are the criteria that I mostly use, like when I'm thinking about like whether somebody's like really good at something or, you know, not so good, or if you can like pick up the slack that you had in mid game or something like that, you know, all that type of stuff. Anyhow, after that, I'm going to be finishing off A tier with Dracula. You know, I've been thinking about putting Dracula back into B tier, but I have a friend that can play it pretty well, and, you know, surprises me. Overall, I don't know, like, his lack of hard CC is still a problem, right? But he has very high levels of sustain, especially if you build him with Cult Sciences. He's got very high levels of chase potential with the card that resets his jumps. You have to know how to play him, but like once you do, you can bring that into any game. You can do well with it. He has very high levels of pressure early game because of his healing and damage. So yeah, use Dracula. There's a bit of a learning curve. I wouldn't say that he's for everyone, or rather I would say that he isn't really for me, but there are plenty of people that can do well with Dracula, and you can definitely use Dracula to climb if you get good at him. After Dracula, I'm going to be starting off B tier with Hela. Oof, hang on. There we go. Or Hela. I'm going to call her Hela. So Hela is going to be starting off B tier. In B tier, I said about average. That's what I consider Hela to be. Hela has a lot of potential for like burst damage and stuff like that, but the way that her kit is designed really compels her to go all in when she goes all in. And when you're a squishy assassin like that, and you're going all in, it's good for ganking. It's very good for ganking. However, because her stuff doesn't build up when she's like attacking like Emerald Dragon and stuff, it doesn't help her claim that early game. And when it comes late game, the way that her kit works is that unless you've got your entire team already there, like setting, like doing their thing already, and you're just going in there to like help finish that type stuff off, there's not really a whole lot that you bring as Hela to the table. She's fun to play though. She's got the longest range ult in the game. She's got very high levels of burst damage. Her autos hurt if you get hit by everything. And you will get hit by everything early in mid game, for sure. So she is able to carry games. It's just she falls off late game. And because of that, compared to like people above her, like Morrigan and Beamon do not fall off late game in any way. If anything, they get better. Because everybody's grouped up there. You can't say the same for Hela or Hela. So I would just say that she's average. She's average. After her, I'm going to be putting Morgan. Oh, wait, that's media. Hang on. Morgan is going to be going into B tier. Same problems as last time. She's got very high levels of damage. If you use her well and you know how to aim her ultimate well, she's very dangerous to fight. However, she doesn't have hard CC, and she doesn't have, what's the other thing? She doesn't have hard CC, and she doesn't have a true escape. If you build her with boots, she's very good at flitting around the edge of the battlefield to like really screw people up, and she's good at that. If you allow her to poke, it's solid, but you still have to allow her to poke, and I don't know, once people know that you're there, it's a little bit harder to do like as well, because of how, yeah, I don't know, I'd just call her average. You know, she's a burst mage, but she's got obvious drawbacks. After Morgan, I'm going to be putting Achilles. Achilles is going to be going into B. The CC immunity on the ult is very strong. Like, at a high level, it might be better to run Devastation, which gives him the knock-up on his ultimate, and it allows you to CC chain better. However, for just about anything besides that, however many seconds of CC immunity you get makes you very, very strong at dueling, and it also makes you very strong at face tanking stuff if you're the engage late game. Because you'll dive into people, knock them all up with your dash ability, and then after that you'll pop your ultimate and absorb all the CC that like they were saving for the engage, you know, to shut whoever down who like tried to like test them, you know, and he'll just eat it. He might die while he's doing it, but he won't be like just locked into place. He'll be dealing damage. His little ultimate things will be ticking. You can build him like more tanky or more carry like. I wouldn't say that he's best if you build him full carry or full tank, because he just doesn't offer enough of either one. He's basically a jack of all trades. If you get really good with him, you're dangerous. However, it's really easy to mess up his builds because of how specific you have to be, because like you can't just build him as a full carry and you can't just build him as a full tank. You have to strike this balance, and it's hard to figure out what that balance is, in my opinion. And just in general, he isn't as unfair as like say an Arthur, or as say Heracles, or as say like a Brynhild or a Teslan. He just doesn't offer that like level of unfair, but he's still solid, and I would still say that if you get good with him, you know, use him. That's what characterizes B tier. After that, I'm actually going to be surprising you all maybe with putting Shipton into B tier. So Shipton got reworked, either this patch or last patch or something like that. She is good now. She still maintains that like high level of early game pressure. I don't know what they did to her empowered auto attacks, but I feel like that they're a little bit better at like hurting people, a little bit better at knocking people down. I'm not sure how that works. It just might be placebo. I don't know. But having her stun on a much shorter cooldown is always nice. Her ultimate is still that massive AoE. I kind of felt like she lost more than she gained initially when I first saw the rework. But I've now sort of like, she still does that same thing early game where she'll like carry people. And late game, I feel like the shields and the extra armor are actually more valuable than the heals she used to provide. It makes her harder to kill as well. Her ultimate is still a massive AoE that hits everybody in a team fight. That's what it's there for. It might not like really slow anybody or do anything besides like provide damage or healing. But, you know, that's still like a health damage disparity, you know? You can still heal your team while damaging them, and that's always going to be helpful. You know, I don't think she is as bad as she used to be. I just don't think that, like, you can still pick other supports that are better, sort of. But she now has a place now. I think Shipton has a place in the game now. She's still very dangerous to fight in those first 4 levels. After Shipton, I'm going to be putting Siren. Siren is also going to be going into B tier. Previously, I said that Siren had a very dangerous CC chain. After I got to playing her myself, I think I was only realizing that, like, Siren has, like, these very, like, she has these windows of opportunity where if she lands the perfect combo, the guy's dead. Like, guaranteed the guy's dead. But there's also, like, this downtime where she doesn't have her tsunami and it's still just like the regular wave ability, where she just doesn't offer very much. It's very like single target focused. She's squishy. Her ultimate, making somebody go completely invulnerable, is very, very good. Okay, like that's always going to be good for protecting your carry. It's better than anything Ogier could ever do, right? However, outside of that, how single target focused she is makes it hard to like try and place her up higher on the list, especially since she's sort of squishy. However, I don't know what they did, but I feel like her damage is better early game than it used to be in the previous patches. She feels dangerous to fight early game. Like even just one-on-one against the Siren in those first 4 levels is spooky to me when I'm like playing a marksman. Yeah, I mean, Siren's okay. You need a lot of time on her. You need to measure out your windows of opportunity. But other than that, like, she's okay. She's all right. After that, I'm going to be putting Bologna. So I previously actually wanted to put Bologna into D tier with Arjuna. That was my initial thought, but I had a guy talk it over with me, and she has obvious drawbacks, right? Like, she's short range, she doesn't have any escape, but she also has some like apparent strengths. She has like cleaving auto attacks even without multi-shot. You put multi-shot on her and it becomes funny to watch. She also has that thing where she basically gains like 30% extra damage on her basics, right? Like 30% extra power or something. So that's always good to have. The other thing is that she has like CC. She's got a slow. She's also got a root. That's nice, you know. Once you get, okay, I should put it this way. She has no mobility, right? So you have to, as a Medusa, you have to like figure out how to close that gap when you've got like this limited range of like affliction, right? But once somebody is in that range, you're able to do a lot of damage to them. The problem that I have with her is that she, unless you're hiding in a bush, you're going to be taking damage before you get to them into your range, or like you get them into your range, right? You're going to be taking damage. And usually, even though that she's really good at dealing damage once you're in there, when you get hit as a squishy Bologna, it like really affects your ability to like win that, in my opinion. There are Bolognas that make her look really good. She's very dangerous in team fights because like you don't have to really aim. You just like toss out your ultimate and just pop your one, and you've got like 20% extra crit chance, and you're hitting everybody, and it's spooky. But outside of that, I can't say that like you could pick Medusa or Odysseus, and like I think Bologna might have the best wave clear in the game now. But outside of that, I can't like, I don't know. She's good. I'd say that she isn't terrible, but she has obvious drawbacks, and that's mostly her range and lack of mobility. After Bologna, I'm going to be finishing off B tier with Endor. I was debating between putting Endor into B tier or C tier, but I think I touched on it a little bit last patch. What you want to do with Endor is you want to build him looking like a support, which is like with Frosty Bites and with, I forget what it's called, like Spectral Grab or something. Whichever one makes his like little flailing thing actually root people when it's done. The combination of that with Frosty Bites makes him able to confirm a lot more damage than you would if you tried to build him with a bunch of penetration. Like I see a lot of different ones, like a lot of different Endors try to do. They try to build him blast and it doesn't work because of how like clunky his kit is. However, when you put on all that CC like and you tie it up into his kit, that clunkiness disappears because it's suddenly a lot of confirmed damage. And when you get an Endor with a lot of confirmed damage and a lot of confirmed CC in a team fight, it's scary. I'd still prefer him in mid lane, but you can run him as a support. You know, like Endor's okay. I wouldn't say that, like if you build him wrong, he's C tier. You build him where he's got a lot of confirmed damage and a lot of confirmed CC, and he's B tier. You just need like practice on him in order to perform well, type stuff. Anyhow, after Endor, I'm going to actually start off C tier with Media. Previously, I thought Media was the second to worst character in the game. I've since reconsidered that. You have to build her very, very high damage to get the most out of her. But what I didn't realize is that every single dash that she does is untargetable. It means that she can't be damaged, she can't be CC'd, you can't do anything to her, you can't hit her with marksman attacks at all, anything, nothing. Nothing gets through it. And I was not prepared for that. I didn't think that was how she operated previously. I thought that she was still able to be CC'd through her dashes like the way that like an Arthur would be, right? But she doesn't. She doesn't take CC. At least I don't think she does. That puts her up a tier for me. She still has the same problem of like you have to like get dead center of a team fight and taunt everybody. I will say that like when you taunt people though, like if you like jump dead center of a team fight, they can't do anything to you while the taunt's going off. So while it's super, super risky in a solo queue environment, if you have a team to back you up and to like capitalize on like your ability to just like hop dead center and taunt everybody because you like dash beforehand and you got your little stick, like your little mark on somebody so you can teleport to them and stuff, it's powerful. But she still doesn't really have great wave clear. I've still got like more than a couple problems with her. But in a competitive environment, her strengths become a lot more like noticeable. So yeah, she's raised up a tier for me. After Media, I'm going to be putting Elros. Elros is the definition of a niche character. He basically has one of the longest effective ranges in the game. Like, sure, Endor and Hela have like longer range ultimates, but nobody is as long range in general as an Elros is. The problem with Elros is that he's very difficult to use, and once somebody hops on top of you, you're kind of dead. However, I don't know, like, you've got this like limited window of opportunity. Like, your poke isn't super high damage. Like, it's annoying for sure. You can chunk people for like half their health if you get off like a full set of poke and you got the correct build and everything like that. However, like once that's down, you got like a solid like 5 seconds where you're useless. That doesn't feel good. I mean, his kit still isn't high enough damage by itself to like have him one combo the way that a Hestia would, because in order for him to do that, he has to like get up in front of people and pop his like little get back away from me ability, right? And that just puts him out of position that he shouldn't be, because he's like a super long range squishy mage, right? And then now you want for him to like get that full combo off, for him to like kill people correctly. You have to be super long range away to proc his passive, right? Although they did buff him. They buffed his passive. It's now usable. I like it a lot. He's fun to play now, for sure. But it still doesn't change that you want to be long range, and then if you like actually want to kill somebody, you have to get up in their face in order to do it. And that combination, like that combination of like wanting to be really far away or wanting to be really close doesn't do it. Like, it makes him very niche. He just, I don't know, he just doesn't bring enough, I guess. But what he does bring is super long range. So if you just want to slap people from a mile away all game, it's fun to do, believe me. After Elros, I'm going to be putting Minotaur up into C tier. Previously, I thought Minotaur was a little bit better than Andarvi, I think. However, because Andarvi has a lot more AoE and is similarly tanky and all that, whereas Minotaur is mostly like single target, I've kind of like swapped their positions, so to speak, is how that worked out, I think. He's still a full tank, like there's nothing wrong with that. But he is single target. He can lay the slaps on people though. Like if they're squishy and he does his whole combo on them, he's got a lot of time to just beat down on them. But it's just one target. It's only one target, and they have to be squishy for it to like work properly. So I don't know. He's alright. He's alright. He's a full tank, so that's always nice. But other than that, I wouldn't say anything in particular is good. Now here's the good part. So, Penthesilea. Alright, so first I'm going to put her into unsure replacement / new, and I'm going to explain why I'm going to put her into niche. So, Penthesilea. What does she offer? She is the newest character in the game. She offers a lot of resets. In one combo, you can get off like 6 or 7 abilities or something like that. It's a very high like level of like ability usage that you can get out of one combo. However, the problem that I have with her is that she doesn't have any mobility, which kind of makes her a lot like Takeko, Takeko in my opinion. Takeko is like this character where she doesn't have any mobility, but like once she's on top of you, you're kind of dead. Penthesilea does the same thing. However, Penthesilea has the advantage of being ranged while she does it for part of it. She has like better poke damage in that way. And the other thing is that she gets free shields. It makes her like surprisingly tanky once she's closed the gap. That's always nice. But which is why I'm putting her above Takeko, right? But in general, I wouldn't say that, like, her lack of mobility and the fact that, like, her only mobility throws her at the enemy, it's off-putting. It makes her very all-in. She's good at one-comboing people for sure. The problem is that it takes a long time to do it. Because she has so many ability resets, they had to balance it out with them being like not as powerful as like a typical, like overall she has like overkill levels of damage, but the time that it takes to like apply all that, it's kind of tough to get down. Even I'm still like trying to like learn her and how to like utilize her properly, because like when you play her, her weaknesses become very apparent like right off the gate. Like she doesn't have mobility and you can feel that. The range capability makes her like fun to play into top lane, because you can just like keep throwing spears at people as they like come up to like hit minions and stuff, and that's kind of funny. But I don't know. She's like Takeko 2.0 in my opinion. And you know what? That's okay, but it's not good. I call that niche. good duelist, not really good outside of that. Anyhow, moving on to Thanatos. Thanatos is going to be going into C tier. Like I said last time, the reason why you pick Thanatos is because you see too many marksmen on the enemy team, and you just pick that up, and you just go to town. You have fun. The problem with him is also apparent. He doesn't have mobility, and his little, his invisibility doesn't protect him from, AoE. So you can still get, caught out by Hestia and Deny the second that they see your little shadow flicker. So, yeah. I mean, he's alright. He has very, very high damage on basic attacks late game, which does, give him a certain spot in the meta, but his problem is that he's just, he's so slow, and his ultimate doesn't last for, the full duration. The stun on it doesn't let that last bit of damage hit if they just walk out of it. So I don't know, he's got obvious problems. He's also got, he's also a obvious hard counter to marksman. It makes it kind of funny to, attack Odysseus as him, because Odysseus, all of his, stuff is, supposed to work off of him hitting his basics. So when he can't do that, it's kind of funny to, he'll kind of die. He'll kind of die unless he has his ult. But outside of that, he just doesn't bring a whole lot. After that, I'm going to be putting Edic into C tier. I would really love to put Edic higher. I really would. I don't think he's average. He's in this, weird spot as, a hybrid, marksman slash mage, and it's interesting, but I just have a problem with, his two basic abilities don't deal as much damage as his passive, which is, little blobs, right? So it's sort of what am I using these abilities for as a mage? I'm just using them to, make more blobs on the floor and hope they walk over them. What is very strong is his ability to throw a bunch of blobs on the floor and then, suck them all dead center along with everybody in the team with his ultimate. That's always going to be there. He's always going to have, a certain spot where, if you want somebody to, have, a second Lin ultimate, go ahead and pick Edic. But outside of that, I feel one thing that Edic is very good at, though, is dominating early game. His passive allows him to build a shield without needing any sort of lifesteal, and when you're just face trading with people like that, the way that you can do as Edic early game, he's got a lot of power when it comes to that type of stuff. But once that passes, it's very hard to build him properly. You want to make his little dots deal damage, and you want for his abilities and all that, and you want for that dominance that he has early game to continue, but it just doesn't. And then he doesn't have any sort of steroid that helps him late game, other than just hey, I've got a steroid of CC on my ult, ha, and you just call that good. And it just doesn't I mean, it's good, his ultimate is good for those CC chain combos, or even for just starting them, because it groups everybody up dead center the way Lin does. But I don't know. I'd like to put him up higher, but his lack of identity, unlike Achilles has this lack of identity, but he performs reasonably well at everything. Edic has this lack of identity, but once that time passes, he doesn't perform well at that, at what he's supposed to do. So it's sort of you got this little dichotomy of jack of all trades, master of none between the two of them, and it just kind of shows you that Edic needs a little bit more identity to himself when it comes to his first and second abilities. After that, I'm actually going to be starting D tier. It's going to start with Arjuna. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Arjuna, you aren't that good. So I think the same stuff that I said last time is like applies here. One thing that I didn't really consider is that Arjuna has like percentage like armor shred on his poke ability, which is why it felt so hurtful when he used it, like, you know, and it's very good for like setting up like very dangerous wombo combos late game. But I don't know, it's just like, why would you pick a marksman for one ability, right? Like, why would you pick somebody just because they have armor shred? His ultimate also only stuns one target, and only if they get hit by the center of it, right? Only if you touch the center of it do you actually get the stun. He self-slows, even if it does give him extra range, it's still a self-slow. He's got a lot of, like I said, like, in those first couple of levels, where, like, that standard, like, ADC, I'm gonna, like, walk into range and you're gonna die very quickly, you don't have that early game. So that's where Arjuna shines, right? Like, he just hurts people pretty bad from, like, really far away. He's got excellent poke damage. He trades better than most because he doesn't have to get into your range to hurt you. The problem is just that he slows himself and he's immobile. Like, you don't really want a character like that. A character like that kind of just, like, doesn't really compare to anybody. Like, even if you're immobile, you don't want to be a character that says, oh, I'm going to go ahead and slow myself, thank you very much. It doesn't work. After Arjuna, it's going to be Takeko. Takeko is going to be second to worst. And yeah, same reason as last time. After you hit a certain point, she's able to one combo you. But at that point, it's sort of like past the time where you want to have an assassin that can one combo you. Because you're already team fighting at that point, and Takeko just sucks in team fights. You know, she's very good at, like, getting in. She doesn't get out. She has very high levels of damage, but it's countered by the fact that, you know, her escapes don't work in the way that you would want them to. One of the suggestions that I've heard about, like, reworking her would be to, like, make her passive the dash thing an ability, so that she actually has a choice to, like, get out if need be. And, like, you make the little waltz blade thing, the little circle spin, like, area damage thing, you make that her passive. Like, every time she hits you with an ability, it does a little circular slash, AoE damage. It would allow her to, like, clear waves and stuff, while also, like, giving her, like, an ability to, like, you know, get out of dodge instead of get into dodge. I think that would help her a lot. She doesn't need, like, major changes. She just needs, like, those certain, like, bad aspects of her kit fixed. And I think that would be, like, relatively easy to do if you, like, rework her a little bit. After Takeko, the very worst person and the last person on the tier list is going to be Moryu at number 37. So I think what happened is originally his little, okay, I don't know for certain because I didn't play him a whole lot. I just knew that his ult is, like, super impactful. Like, 3.2 seconds of hard CC is good. It's like Brynhild levels of good, right? The problem is that it's just on his ult. The other thing that I had a problem with, though, is I think his double dash used to work on his spray and pray ability. It would replace spray and pray. Now that is not the case. It replaces his stun ability, the little flying rocket. Basically, it means that you've lost that potential to, like, poke or whatever. And the other problem that I have with it is maybe it was a bug fix, but in either case, I don't like it. His double dash actually does not work unless you get unless you set yourself to maximum level of heat when you dash. So basically, if you just like dash to gain heat, or like dash to gain the shield, you can't double dash after that unless you're in carnage mode, and that frankly sucks. It used to be like you could double dash to get away, you could dash to do like whatever, and you get a massive shield for it. But that isn't a thing anymore. Like, you have to use it to get into carnage mode. And the fact of the matter is that if you put that on his like little rock, or maybe it was always on his rocket ability, I don't know, but it kind of sucks, dude. Like, he's a one-trick pony. You pop ult, you make sure you're level 7 and you have it to where your ult stuns everybody, and you kill people. You reap benefits, right? As Mario. But then outside of that, you realize you got a super clunky character, and his first ability, his spray and pray, is terrible. Like, I cannot emphasize how terrible that ability is on a marksman. At the very least, you could make it to where he like is able to turn it at like a regular speed and not just super slow, and make it to where it doesn't slow him down when he's doing it either. Like, come on, man. Like, I don't know. Like, if you're gonna be that close range, don't make it to where they can just walk out of it if they want to. Yeah, I don't know. Just fix him. Do something. You did pretty good with Shipton, so, you know, keep it up, you know. I appreciate you guys. You just need to advertise better. You need to get rid of that 2,800 hero token cap. You need to like properly nerf people that are good, properly buff people that are bad. But outside of that, it's nice. So that is gonna finish up my tier list. Thanks for watching. If you have any disagreements for it, I really appreciate feedback. So you can like leave it in the comments, discuss it with other people that play LOA, anything like that. I appreciate it. I'm also going to be plugging in the unofficial Reddit, as well as the official Facebook and official Twitter links in the description. You'll also find 2 of the more active Discords for LOA in the description as well. I appreciate you guys, and see you all in the next one.